What really happened to the dinosaurs? Well, that's easy. It's a two-word answer. They died. But let's understand this more fully. The word dinosaur was first invented in 1841, and it was a name invented by Sir Richard Owen, a famous British anatomist, because he had found the bones of creatures called iguanodon and megalosaurus, and they recognized they had certain features in their skeletons, and so they were a different kind of land animal, and he invented the name dinosaur from two Greek words, Dinios and sauros, which means terrible lizard. Of course, later on we find out that many in the dinosaur kinds weren't that terrible in the sense of they weren't that big. The average size of a dinosaur is really the size of a bison, and now we would say there are about 80 different kinds of dinosaurs, all different sizes. Most were not that large. Now, a lot of Christians say, how do you fit dinosaurs into the Bible? Well, you don't do that. We've got to start with God's word because we have a revelation given to us from God. And in Genesis 1 to 11, that is the foundational history for everything to understand the origin of all the basic entities of life in the universe and to give us the foundation for a truly biblical worldview. So when we start with Genesis, we know that God made all the kinds of land animals on day 6 alongside of Adam and Eve. Well, what we today call dinosaurs would be a subset of that. So of, say, 1,000 kinds of land animals God made, about 80 of those kinds would be dinosaurs, because we believe there are about 1,000 kinds that were needed on Noah's Ark. The species we have today are not the kinds. There are species within a kind. So in other words, the dog kind gave rise to all the dog species we have today. We know God created what we call today dinosaurs on day 6. 2 of each kind of land-dwelling, air-breathing animal went on Noah's Ark, so the 80 dinosaur kinds, as a subset of the 1,000 animal kinds God created, would have gone on board Noah's Ark. They came off the Ark after the flood. Those that were drowned during the flood, some of them were turned into fossils, which is why we have fossils of dinosaurs. And then because of the flood caused climate change. That's right. There's been climate change ever since the flood. If people don't believe in the flood of Noah's day, they will not understand climate change. There's been all sorts of climate changes since the flood, and there will continue to be climate changes in a fallen world. The flood generated an ice age that caused dramatic climate change. Then the ice age started to recede. That caused dramatic climate change. So there's been all sorts of climate changes, not caused by man, only in the sense of man sinned and changed everything, and man rebelled against God, and God judged with the flood, but not directly by man in the sense of what man does today in regard to his technology, in the industrial machinery and so on. It's not to do with that. So the flood caused massive climate change. And as climates have changed over the years, there have been animals in different places that for many reasons have become extinct. The dinosaurs, as far as we know, have become extinct, but for the same reasons, really. People kill animals off. We even talk about that today, that animals in an area can become extinct because of people hunting them. Disease can cause problems. They can hunt each other and kill each other. There can be catastrophes. There could be famines. There's all sorts of reasons why animals become extinct. And so over time, the dinosaurs became extinct too. So there's no real mystery when you start from God's word and you build a biblical worldview to understand dinosaurs. There's no mystery at all. So when I started off by saying they died, that's what happened to them. They died. For the same reason that many other animals have died and many other animals have become extinct, the dinosaurs, it seems, are all extinct too. But who knows? Maybe one day someone might find one of the kinds within the dinosaur group. After all, there have been many finds over the years of animals they thought became extinct millions of years ago and suddenly find them living today. They're called living fossils. Of course, that's not a surprise to creationists. It's a surprise to evolutionists, though. At the Creation Museum, we have a living fossil in our big aquarium in the main hall. It's a garfish. Garfish are considered living fossils because they supposedly existed millions of years ago and they appear in the fossil record supposedly millions of years ago, and then suddenly they find them living today. The coelacanth fish is another example of a so-called living fossil. So who knows, maybe a dinosaur, and remember, most dinosaurs are pretty small, really, many the size of chickens. Who knows whether one might be found living, like they found, the coelacanth fish, or we found garfish, Then if they did find one, they'd call it a living fossil. But as far as we know, dinosaurs are extinct. In fact, many of the flood legends that we have around the world are attesting to the fact there was a real flood. Well, there are dragon legends all over the world that we believe attest to the fact there were real animals they call dragons, and some of those descriptions fit the dinosaurs. So it could be that before the word dinosaur was invented, those same sorts of creatures people called dragons. And we know that people hunted the dragons. So it could be one of the reasons why some of them became extinct. So there we are. What happened to the dinosaurs? They died. We live at a time in which the Bible is vehemently attacked, particularly in the history in Genesis 1 to 11. So we have produced a series of 5 books that contain answers to the most asked questions, the main attacks on God's Word today. Answering questions such as, where did God come from? How do we know there's a God? What about carbon dating? Dinosaurs? The days of creation? Can we really trust the Bible? And so on. The most asked questions that are used to try to undermine the Bible and attack the Bible and destroy its authority, we have answered those in this series of 5 volumes called the Answers Books.